Hi friends, I'd like to share with you some insights for those of you who are anywhere between 50 to about 200 pounds above your ideal weight. And of course, if you are in this situation, I imagine that your life is very similar to the lives of the people that we see here all the time. And people look at you weird, like they wonder if you don't have any self-control. They wonder, one lady was telling me here, one lady in that group was telling me here that she's at a store one day and she decides to buy some sort of drink, some sort of smoothie. And she says that the lady behind her at the teller, essentially, a stranger, not somebody that she knew, essentially demeans her, screams at her in front of everybody in the store, in the grocery store, saying, "How dare you, purchase this item that is so caloric when look at you, you're obese and you're fat and this." I mean, just a complete verbal assault from a complete stranger. So this lady comes here and she's crying and she goes, "I don't understand. I'm at the store, I'm buying my own thing. I didn't ask her opinion or her money or anything like this." And this sort of situation, this sort of scrutiny from others is quite common and quite hurtful for those of you who are in the category of 50 to 200 pounds above your ideal weight. And there's a pressure, there's a social pressure, and I'm sure you've noticed this. Everybody will tell you, "Well, wouldn't you feel better if you lost some weight? Wouldn't you feel better?" This is the standard question that people tell me they get. "Wouldn't you feel better about yourself if you lost some weight?" And everybody whom I've been doing this for over 20 years, and everybody whom I spoke with in this category, in this situation, they tell me, "Of course I would feel better," but it's not quite so simple, it's not quite so obvious, and it isn't. And there are some really important biochemical and biological reasons why it isn't so easy to lose weight. And that's why I'm here to share with you some unique insights. Number one, most of the advice that you get from people is plain wrong. For instance, what is the most common thing you hear about weight loss? And you hear this from everybody. In order to lose weight, you have to eat less and exercise more. Now, hold on, let me qualify this. This is essentially true, but it's also false. And let me just explain this. Technically, it is true that in order to lose weight, we have to create a caloric deficit. And you create a deficit by spending more energy, meaning exercising more, and taking less in other words, eating less. So when people say, "Oh yeah, you need to lose weight, eat less and exercise more," essentially, that being true, people interpret that that's the way to start the process. So what happens is they begin to eat less, they go on some sort of diet. The hypothalamus, this little part in the brain, detects a decrease in caloric input. The brain interprets that we're basically beginning to starve. The brain locks down all fat reserves and eventually boosts appetite to the point where a person will eat whatever is in front of them. In other words, they end up gaining more weight. In other words, we can only diet, we can only starve, we can only go hungry for a few days before the survival reflex there overwhelms the. All right, so we're saying that essentially a person who is in a category of 50 to 200 pounds overweight, they get lots of stares and lots of unsolicited advice from others telling them to eat less and exercise more. And I was saying that although this is essentially true, it is not practical. So let's tackle that one issue at a time. Number one, if we begin to suddenly eat less, aka going into a diet, the body detects starvation and begins to lock down reserves, fat reserves. Number one, and eventually it boosts appetite and it's unstoppable because starvation is the biggest threat to our health, and the body will do whatever it takes to oppose death, to oppose the survival instinct. So it will kick up appetite to a degree that we cannot resist it. So that's one. The other thing is that when we exercise, when a person is between 50 and 200 pounds above their ideal weight, exercising is not necessarily a good idea. Not, it's a delicate idea. It isn't so trivial. Okay, so in other words, people tell you, "Well, just go jogging." Well, frankly, if a person is 200 pounds overweight and they decide to go jogging, even if they can endure the pain, there will be some damage there. I mean, let's be realistic, because the bones and the joints are not designed for the pounding at that excess weight, and it's just there will be some damage there. So it's not a wise thing to do. And I see this here at the clinic all the time. People come in with all kinds of bruises and injuries and pains and aches, and they tell me, oh, somebody told me to exercise more. I think that's irresponsible and insensitive, because the accusation there, the implicit accusation is that, you're not doing all you can to lose weight. And that's frankly not true. In other words, the problem of obesity at that range is much more complex, and it takes a lot more understanding of the issues to be able to help and guide the person into their ideal weight. Of course, this is what we do here all the time, and people tell us, well, you make it look easy. And I say, well, we've been doing this for over 20 years, and we take a lot of pride in doing this right, but it isn't so trivial. Something as obvious as this common idea that you should eat less and exercise more. And if you start off by trying to diet by eating less, and if you start off by trying to exercise, it just won't work. Now, exercise, in addition to being dangerous when we're above weight, for all kinds of reasons, cardiac reasons, musculoskeletal reasons, all kinds of reasons, there's another issue. Suppose you could endure exercise. Suppose you're now exercising every day, but you've changed your lifestyle. You're getting up an hour earlier. Now you're not sleeping as much because you decided to go to the gym before going to work. So lack of sleep becomes a stressor in the body, raises cortisol levels. It's going to interfere with insulin metabolism, and it's going to amount in weight gain. So in addition to that, we're going to be drinking more water, and we're going to be gaining a little bit of muscle mass, and the net effect initially of exercising is a weight gain, not a weight loss. So what happens is the person's been sacrificing, they've been getting up early, they've been going to the gym, and they measure their weight a week later, they're actually heavier, so they've been starving and exercising, and they feel that they're heavier, they see their weight being a little bit higher, they lose courage, they lose motivation. And it's a shame, because what failed wasn't them, wasn't you. What failed was the advice that you got from others who are not in your situation and frankly don't understand what you're going through. So for instance, here at the office, we of course always suggest to people that they consult with their physicians, they have a full physical examination, and consult with their trainers and all the experts that they have available to them, but we know that going on a diet and starving yourself and eating less and simply starting to exercise, if a person is well above their ideal weight, is just not a good idea. And there's quite a bit of science nowadays to prove that, to back this up, in addition to experience. We do this all the time, and we do it right. The first thing that has to change, if you are well above your ideal weight and you want to adjust your weight permanently, the first thing that has to change is how you see yourself. We have to begin by addressing the mind and not the body, how you see yourself. And let me tell you, the most difficult part of the process is helping you change your beliefs about your own ability to adjust your weight. Because by the time a person gets here and they're 150 pounds overweight, they no longer believe they can lose the weight, even though they're here paying for the services. There's a part of them that doesn't believe it's possible. And as long as we have that part inside of us telling us that we're not capable of doing this, or it's not possible for us to achieve this, or we don't deserve this, then it's going to be an uphill battle. So the first thing that we have to do is change our minds about ourselves and change the way we see ourselves. Again, this is not trivial, but it is the most important part of the process, and it is where we begin. And it has to be done that way, because otherwise everything becomes a problem. Until we have a good reason, until we're motivated, until we understand what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing, attempting to change the body is only going to lead to a rebound and frustration. So if you are in the situation of being with a whole lot of excess weight and you want to adjust the situation, give me a call. We can talk about this. Put your comments below. I'll respond to the comments, and let's see how we can make this work for you, because it certainly deserves the results. All right? Thank you.